Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today's guest is a voice that has touched the hearts of South Africans for decades. But beyond the extraordinary music, she has also become a guide for self discovery, healing, and conscious living. Joining us today is the incredible Nianell, singer, author, and transformational voice behind the knowing who I am and Apple Flowers. In this conversation, we'll explore how music can become a form of healing, the journey of discovering who we truly are, and how we stay grounded and authentic in a fast-moving world. Nianel, it's truly an honor to have you with us today. How are you,
Uh,
Nianel?
it's my honor to speak to you. Thank you so much for the interest. Lovely being here.
Awesome. So, Nianel, to get the ball rolling with you, for decades, South Africans have known you as a powerhouse vocalist. How has your relationship with music evolved from performance to personal healing and spiritual expression?
Siddharth, that is a beautiful question because I think it has so much to do with my own personal growth as well. In the beginning, when I was about 6 years old, I already sounded like an adult with this huge voice. I had a very big voice.
Wow.
So for me, my first journey was to kind of grow into my voice because, you see, I didn't feel like I had the personality to kind of go with this big voice. I was very introvert. And at that point in my life, I also felt really insecure and stuff like that. So it took a long time for me to actually develop enough confidence in myself, a bit of self-esteem to actually sort of grow into this voice. And finally, when I grew into the voice, I created some great success in my country as a singer-songwriter, but none of the accolades, being a multi-platinum singer-songwriter in my country, performing with, people all over the world, none of that took the fear away, that I felt always deep inside myself. So I think for me, the deeper search was not growing into the voice, but kind of finding, how can I find peace? How can I find a stillness within myself and still do what I love? And so when my mom passed away,
Sorry.
so when my mom actually passed away, for me that was like a huge turn in my life, where I actually then went from being on big stages, I moved inwards, and I was starting to find, looking for, the inner peace. And so during the last 16 years, I basically my journey was, how can I first of all find peace within myself, and then when I did find it, a great desire happened to, I want to share this with people. And so I don't think I've ever moved away from music. I just sort of changed music into more, instead of being a performer for entertainment, I've changed it into being music for healing, to be of service to people and to connect with people and to share what I've learned.
Awesome. With with a rare four-octave range, your voice is technically extraordinary. But beyond technique, what do you believe your voice is here to do on a soul level?
Oh, Siddharth, can you just, I didn't hear that so well. Please, if you can just repeat the question, please.
Sure, no problem.
One moment
With
here,
a
quickly. Sorry, it's noisy.
Sure, no problem. With a
Sorry.
rare four-octave range, your voice is technically extraordinary. But beyond technique, what do you believe your voice is here to do on a soul level?
I think we're all here for some soul purpose, and first of all, that is to remember who you are and what you are a part of. And I think for me, on a soul level, when I finally remembered who I am and what I am a part of, it I wanted to use my voice to admire this beautiful creation, to sing the praises of humanity, to sing the praises of Mother Earth, basically just be in admiration and just admire this magnificent creation, because I just believe it is one of the most incredible. I mean, just look around, it takes my breath away, this creation. And in the beginning stages of my life, I felt like I've always cared a lot about people. I always wanted to connect with people. My mission was always just how can I make people joyful and happy and bring joy to the world. But it came from a place of ego where I felt I'm going to have to be on a stage. People are going to have to look at me, and it was a little bit from that direction. But I think when you fall into your true divine soul purpose, you realize that okay, it's not really about you. It's wonderful, that journey to kind of like figure out who you are and what you are a part of, and all of that is part of that. But when you realize who you truly are, then it becomes a part of the collective. Then it becomes a wholeness. Then it's no longer about, put the spotlight on me. Then it's like, yeah, how can we put the spotlight on everything, on this beautiful creation, and remind people that we are magnificent divine beings.
It's really beautiful. In your book, Knowing Who I Am, you speak about radical self-awareness. What was the turning point in your own life where you truly began to know who you are beyond titles and applause?
So the book Knowing Who I Am, um, I that was my first book, and by fluke, it happened to be published worldwide by Hay House,
Ah,
and it was really just like, really honestly for me, I thought like, yo, that was lucky, do you know? But when you do write a book called Knowing Who I Am, I think the universe will say, it's kind of like an invitation to the universe to say,
mm,
okay, let's see if I really do. So when I wrote that book, my entire life changed after it was published worldwide. And I had to really almost live through everything that I have written down in that book. The minute you say, and I said in the book, I'm not defined by what other people think of me, and immediately I created a tremendous amount of experiences that, that put me in the middle of experiences where people were thinking things about me, like one of the big magazines in our country, after I wrote that book, had a headline coming out with, when they talked about my book, and the headline read, Nianell, my life was hell. And I never said that in the book. And suddenly there's a headline on one of the top selling magazines in our country saying that I said that, which I never did. And then you kind of want to defend, and you want to, you want to start defending. And then you realize, oh, this is what it means. This is what so I always say, knowing something doesn't really change something. And I think with the book Knowing Who I Am, I sort of had the knowing, but I definitely didn't have the understanding in a feeling sense and in a being sense. So writing that book was a wonderful catalyst for me to actually truly go on a journey of real self-discovery, and first of all I had to peel off everything that I thought I was sort of disintegrated after I wrote that book. And it took me nearly 9, I'm not even sure how many years it's taken me now. I think I was in 2011 I think in 2011 or 2012 when I published that book. And I only just published my third book. In the middle there was a small little guidebook that I wrote, but now with my third book, I believe that this is actually the book that like, because writing that first book was an assignment. Somebody said, do you want to write a book? Let's write a book, and a publishing house approached me, and I was still very happily singing. But my last book, A Song That's Yet Unsung, was a conscious decision. I want to write this book, and I didn't hold back. I was with the first book, I was still writing in a way that makes me look amazing, I guess. But in this, the third book is just, this is how it is.
awesome. In Apple Flowers, you transform life's challenges into metaphors of growth. What personal winter season in your life produced the most unexpected blossom?
I think it was, um, well, the first time was when my mom passed away. That was a big, big one for me. But I think the year 2023 was probably my most challenging year in my life. That was the year that my children, just before they turned 16, they moved to Amsterdam to go and finish school over there. I have triplets. And so my girls had this wonderful opportunity to move to Amsterdam to go and study with their, in an amazing school there. And so they moved there with their father. But for a mom to say goodbye to her children like that it was just a tremendous year for me. The year 2023, it's almost like my entire foundation sort of fell away. Like my dearest friend who helped me actually homeschool and raised my triplets passed away in the January. And in November that year, another really great friend of mine crossed over. I was actually diagnosed with melanoma cancer that year. My children moved to Amsterdam, and the year ended off with my father passing. And for me, it felt sort of like a death. But I want to explain. It was the end of an identity. And I think it was the end of the identity that I sort of built up and wrote about in this first book, Knowing Who I Am. And I think in 2023 was the final, we went to the funeral of that story. We went to we lay it to rest, that identity. And an identity death can sometimes feel like a real death. It can feel like you're really dying, and you have to surrender completely into that transition and into that shift and into that change. Otherwise, you can actually physically die. There will probably, if you resist the change, if you resist the ego death, you can get physically sick. You can, and things will get too much for you, and you can actually then continue to cross over, but it is always an invitation to step into the unknown. And stepping into the unknown is not an easy thing. And I'm so grateful for that year, because that year helped me to let go of a very big identity that I no longer identified with. And the quicker you just surrender to it all, and then you can step into a new version of yourself. All these timelines, all these versions, they actually do already exist. But what is challenging is not to attach to any of them. And we so love to attach to these versions, don't we? Especially if a version is fun. And so just the releasing the resistance to letting go when something has come to an end, and you need to let it go. So there's a lot of discernment, there's a lot of acceptance, there's a lot of forgiveness. There is so much that I learned from that year, and from that year I could write and complete a song that's yet unsung, and finally had the courage just to step out of that old identity. And I think now the challenge is not to step into another identity, if you know what I mean, to kind of just know that, to truly be alive, we always have to be able to let go of what we think we know, and step into the unknown.
Wow, that's really profound. There is growing global interest in sound healing and vibrational therapy. From your perspective, how does intention combined with sound shift someone emotionally or spiritually?
So being clairaudient for me, I hear frequencies and sound that we all have access to it. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of training. So in my sound activation events, I have actually witnessed and noticed how people will go from being in pain physically, and the pain will shift, or they have I've have testimonials where people will say, the minute I start singing and the frequencies and the sounds, they will travel to different timelines, to different spaces and places where they've experienced themselves, and where consciousness was focused, because time transports and it can take you to different places. Yeah, so they will say a sound journey, but I would say what I do is more, I listen to the frequencies in the room, and I will sing the vibrations and the frequencies I hear, and it's almost like a tuning process. So I will go in and first match the frequency and then align it with divine frequency. So always bringing in divinity, always bringing in the frequency of the divine, because the idea is to ignite within people the virtues and the values and the spark of the divine that we are, that we all are.
Have you ever experienced a moment on stage or in private where you felt music physically or emotionally heal something within you?
When I do these sound activation events and I sit with people, every event is unique because everybody brings in their own frequency, their own amazing frequency, and people are so beautiful. The sound of people are magnificent. It's like listening to the most amazing symphony ever, and what an honor to sing it, my interpretation of what I hear in the room. So every single time I sit with a group of people and I get to sing these frequencies, I can feel within myself a shift. And what is amazing is once we go into this very deep meditative state, and we've actually monitored, we've had me connected to an EEG machine, and you would see that I actually go into a lot of gamma frequencies and theta waves in my brain when I actually bring the sounds in. So it is incredibly healing for me. Every time I do this, I physically can feel how I'm healing and mentally, emotionally, spiritually shifting. So for me to do this as a living, I just feel very grateful and, very blessed.
Awesome. In a world that feels increasingly fast, digital, and distracted, what does conscious living truly mean to you today?
It's a choice. Every minute I get to choose. So conscious living is to be fully conscious and aware of the fact that in every given moment you have a choice. And the faster things go around you, you are aware. Conscious living is to understand the entire time. Oh, I have a choice now. Oh, I have a choice. I can choose this now. I can choose this now. I can choose this. And you're aware, and you can actually see, if I choose this, this and this and this is going to happen. Or if I choose this, this and this, you can almost see how your choices are going to play out. And then that moment just before you make a decision, to step back and allow yourself some space to make sure, is this really what I want to choose? So kind of just before reacting, just take a moment and make your decision from a place of inspiration always, rather than desperation. Inspiration rather than desperation. So, mindfulness and choosing, knowing that in every given moment your power, your only power, is to choose.
All right. You've navigated fame, expectation, and personal growth all at once. How do you remain anchored in your spiritual truth while being seen by the world?
I love that question. Thank you. In the end, the only thing that is important is actually how you are being viewed by yourself, how you perceive yourself, and how you are looking at yourself. And that again also is just a choice, because none of these versions really exist. So in any given moment, I can choose to see myself this way or see myself that way, but I think the most important thing is just to remember that when you attach to any of these versions, okay, anything after the I am limits you. So I think for me, the goal is always to kind of just remain in the I am, rather than I am this or I am that or I am this, So I can choose today, I can choose this, I can choose that, but I'm not that, And that is the challenge, because I think or the invitation, because it's it's very easy to fall into the I am this, and the minute you attach, so the way the world sees me will probably be a reflection of how I see myself. So if I feel the world is seeing me in a certain way that I'm not comfortable with, then that means I have to work on myself to change something within myself. Also, because I believe the entire world is just a reflection to me of what I believe. My beliefs will prove themselves to me. So if the world is, in my perspective, viewing me in a way that is uncomfortable for me, then there is no point in changing the world. I have to always step within and see, okay, well, what needs to change within me? And again, we're back to the choice. What do I choose now?
So I guess it's about you living in the moment and being humble, if I'm correct.
I didn't hear that. There was just a little hiccup in the sound.
Oh no, I was just saying, so I guess it's more about the person living in the moment and being humble instead of trying to be someone that you're not, if I'm making sense.
Absolutely, because you see, humbleness for me is when you really know who you are. When you truly know who you are, it is one of the most humbling experiences, because in that moment you become fully present and you understand that you're everything, but you're also nothing. So it's kind of a very humbling experience of surrendering. And yes, being fully present in the moment, that is something I think takes a bit of practice. um, so that is the daily practice, to stay present in the moment. Because after all, if we go into the past, that is the old identity. If we go into the future, that is the identity we would like to move into. But right here in the present moment, we're the I am. And but it is humbling. So when you use the word humble, I so love it, because for me, when you truly understand who you are, it is exceptionally humbling.
Beautiful. Many describe your presence as deeply feminine, yet powerful. How do you understand feminine energy in leadership, creativity, and healing?
Feminine energy is about receiving, being open, and allowing things to flow into to the feminine energy is an open, loving, receiving energy, where the male energy is more the giving, doing, acting kind of energy. So one of the things that, as a female, in this life and in this physical form, I had to learn very much to receive, because that is the feminine energy. It's allowing, and you will only allow yourself to receive if you are in full self acceptance and self love. Then you will understand that you are worthy and deserving of receiving. So that was a very big part of my journey. And then once you are in full acceptance, you allow the all that is to give to you, and you become conscious of every area in your life where you are not allowing the universe to support you, or the universe to give to you. So the feminine energy for me is allowing, the all that is to take care of me, to and to flow with everything. It is soft, it is gentle, it is kind, and it holds space, and it opens up, and it's a very opening energy.
Okay, after my final question, I will then get to the comments. Um, if you could leave our audience with one truth, one frequency to carry into their lives after this conversation, what would it be?
I have written so many songs about just be. Life's gift to me is just to be. And and I actually wrote the one song, Life's Gift to Me is Just to Be, in the year 2006. That was the year just before I gave birth to my triplets. It's like something inside me knew that I am here as a being, not a doing. But how do you do being? So it has been a quite a challenge for me to understand being. But then I realized that we are already whole and complete, timeless, limitless, spaceless beings. And I believe that each one of us at some point starts to believe that we are flawed in some way or broken. And then we spend lifetimes, sometimes even trying to fix the broken
Mm.
version. And that is the lie. The truth is, and truth always feels so good, the truth is that we are already these divine beings, you know. And when we wake up to that, it is truly a humbling experience. And so, if I could leave listeners with something, it's just to remind them that they are already whole and complete and beautiful and magnificent divine beings. And by just allowing yourself to be that, that is how we are going to change this world. um, Remember, what we focus on grow. And so if you feel that you're flawed and you're focusing on those flaws, they become bigger. But if you remember that you are a divine spark and you focus on that, then you will start seeing it in everything and everybody. And that is how we are going to change the world, by remembering who we are, first of all, but allowing ourselves just to be that, which is pure love. And love always unites. Love always brings together, makes one. So if you can remember who you are in this lifetime and just be the love that you are, that is when you are no longer going to feel alone or separate, which is the biggest illusion here, that we are separate from each other. So yes, if I can plant just a little seed, remember you are a divine spark of the all that is energy of creation, already whole and complete. Just be.
Well, that's beautiful. All right, so here's the one comment question for you here. This is from Justin Rishika. Hi, Nianell. What inspired you into music? Have you ever made music based on your life journey?
Yeah, so all the music I write, I am not the kind of songwriter that will sit down and think, what shall I write about? Everything is about my journey and about my life experiences. And if you go and look back at my albums, I have written 10 solo albums, singer songwriter albums, and every song will tell you the story of how I've grown. And in my book, A Song That's Yet Unsung, I've included 30 of my own original music. And then so it kind of tells the story, and then there's the song. And you can listen to it via a QR code. So if you get my book, A Song That's Yet Unsung, I will send you another link so that you can share with your listeners
Cool.
for the book. But that is a beautiful journey of the stories and then the songs that kind of captures the story. So yes, all my music, every single song is based on my life journey.
Yeah, what I'll do with the link you give me, I'll put it on the YouTube description if that's cool with you.
Awesome. I will definitely share that with you.
All I gotta say that thanks so much for giving me your time, and I hope to have you once again in the future.
That will be wonderful, and thank you for reaching out and having this chat with me. It's always so great with connecting with people all over the world. Thank you so much, Ada.